Hey everyone, and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to be your guide for today's explainer. Today, we're taking a really close, analytical look at a true crown jewel of Indian cinema, the 1971 masterpiece, Anand. Now, we aren't just doing a basic recap here. We're going to explore the anatomy of this classic specifically through the unique lens of its legendary director, Hrishikesh Mukherjee. We'll be digging into his deeply personal storytelling inspirations, a totally wild and accidental casting process, and how he managed to craft such a timeless, beautiful celebration of life. Let's get right into it.
Babumushoi, zindagi badi honi chahiye, lambi nahin. My friend, life should be big, not long. You've probably heard it a million times, right? But this isn't just a catchy line delivered perfectly by Rajesh Khanna. It's actually the entire philosophical core of the film wrapped up in a single sentence. It perfectly nails the central message that life is really about the depth of your experiences, not just the number of days you manage to stick around.
But that brings up a really fascinating question. What kind of deep, personal fear actually inspired such a profound perspective on life and death? I mean, why would a director choose to build an entire mainstream movie around a terminal diagnosis? Well, the answer lies in a surprisingly real-life inspiration, and honestly, it forms the entire emotional foundation of what we see on screen.
So, let's start with Section 1, the genesis. A director's fear. To really get Anand, you first have to understand director Hrishikesh Mukherjee and his incredibly tight personal bond with another absolute icon, Raj Kapoor.
There's this heartbreaking, tragic irony behind the creation of this story. See, in real life, the legendary Raj Kapoor was a Punjabi who affectionately called his close friend Hrishikesh Mukherjee Babumushoi. And on screen, the fictional Anand is a Punjabi who calls his doctor Babumushoi. Mukherjee actually wrote this incredibly life-affirming film while he was utterly terrified that Raj Kapoor was going to pass away from a serious illness. He literally took his own profound, pessimistic fear of losing his best friend and poured it straight into the character of Anand.
And because of that deeply emotional genesis, Anand was never just a commercial project for him. It was a deeply personal tribute. In fact, the film is officially dedicated to Raj Kapoor and the people of Bombay. It anchors the whole masterpiece in absolute reality, proving that this story wasn't just dreamt up, it was born out of a very real, very human vulnerability.
Moving on to Section 2, the casting carousel. Accidental genius. You might think a masterpiece like this was meticulously planned from day one, but casting one of cinema's all-time greatest duos was actually a wild, completely unpredictable ride.
The timeline here is just staggering. Step 1. Mukherjee initially envisioned this whole thing as a Bengali film starring Uttam Kumar. When that didn't pan out, Step 2. He seriously considered the legendary Kishore Kumar alongside Mahmood. When that fell through, Step 3. He actually went ahead and signed Sanjeev Kumar for the co-lead role. It wasn't until Step 4 that we finally arrived at the iconic duo of Rajesh Khanna and Amitabh Bachchan. It's a brilliant reminder of just how accidental cinematic history can be.
So what exactly happened with Kishore Kumar? Well, it's honestly one of Bollywood's most hilarious anecdotes. Mukherjee went over to Kumar's house to discuss the project, but Kumar was in the middle of a messy financial dispute with a Bengali event manager, and he had specifically instructed his gatekeeper to drive away that Bengali if he ever dared to show up. The gatekeeper completely misunderstood, thought Hrishikesh Mukherjee was the event manager, and literally drove the famous director off the property. Mukherjee was so hurt by the whole thing that he just decided right then and there not to work with Kumar on the film.
And the next accident was just as crucial. Remember how Mukherjee had already signed the established actor Sanjeev Kumar to play the brooding Dr. Babumushoi? Well, superstar Rajesh Khanna flat out insisted he wouldn't work with him. Because of Khanna's firm stance, Mukherjee was forced to recast. And who happened to step into that role? A then almost unknown, lanky actor named Amitabh Bachchan. A simple, random actor's preference accidentally paved the way for the rise of an absolute megastar. Incredible, right?
Let's jump into Section 3, the canvas, building cosmopolitan Bombay. Mukherjee was such a master storyteller, and he brilliantly used the vibrant, bustling backdrop of Bombay to make these incredibly heavy themes feel deeply universal.
This is where you really see Mukherjee's genius shine. Look at this lineup. You have the Bengali doctor, the Punjabi patient, the Maharashtrian colleague, the Christian matron, and the Gujarati-speaking Muslim theater actor. He masterfully wove these distinct languages, cultures, and religions together into this seamless, harmonious little world. It showcased a version of Bombay where different people didn't just passively coexist, they actively, deeply cared for one another.
And within that microcosm, Mukherjee sets up this
Absolutely brilliant contrast in philosophies. On one side, you have Dr. Bhaskar, played by Bachchan. He's pessimistic, treats the poor for free, and is just constantly weighed down by the suffering he can't cure. But on the other side, we get Dr. Kulkarni. He is delightfully pragmatic. He treats the imaginary illnesses of rich hypochondriacs, prescribes them multicolored placebos, and then funnels that money straight into treating the poor. It's such a perfect balance of heavy reality and practical, everyday humor.
But of course, hovering over all these characters is the central conflict: lymphosarcoma of the intestine. It's a rare type of cancer, and if you're a fan of the film, you probably know that exact term by heart. But notice how Mukherjee handles this grim 6-month terminal diagnosis. Medical ethics and strict clinical science take a total backseat here. Instead, the illness is used super subtly as a plot device. It's an emotional anchor and a metaphor for impending tragedy, basically forcing every single character to confront the true value of the time they have left.
Staring down that terrifying diagnosis, Rajesh Khanna delivers an absolutely phenomenal portrayal of Anand's vibrant spirit. He is just relentlessly cheerful. He maintains this completely nonchalant demeanor about his impending death. He magnetically attracts and befriends literally everyone he meets, and he fiercely refuses to waste his final days stuck in a hospital bed. He's the ultimate embodiment of someone boldly stretching out today's happiness to cover tomorrow's sadness.
And the execution of this character highlights an absolute masterclass in restraint by Mukherjee. Think about your typical Bollywood films from that era. They relied so heavily on elaborate, massive dance routines. But here, Mukherjee allows Khanna to deliver these phenomenally charming musical performances simply by walking, gesturing, and lip-syncing. No backup dancers, no breaking into a routine. That is incredibly hard to pull off without looking a bit awkward, but Khanna's execution is just flawless.
Which brings us to Section 4, The Legacy, a timeless cinematic triumph. And honestly, what's truly staggering to consider is that Hrishikesh Mukherjee shot this entire emotional masterpiece in just 28 days.
And man, did that 28-day shoot pay off. At the 1972 Filmfare Awards, Anand didn't just win a little, it completely dominated. Best Film, Best Actor for Khanna, Best Supporting Actor for Bachchan, Best Story for Mukherjee, and Best Dialogue for Gulzar. This massive critical consensus immediately cemented its status as an undeniable masterpiece of Indian cinema right out of the gate.
But you know, the film's legacy isn't just about the awards. It's about how it literally changed lives overnight. Take the legendary petrol pump incident. On the morning of the film's release, Amitabh Bachchan drove to a petrol pump in Urla to fill up his car, and absolutely nobody recognized him. Fast forward to that very same evening, after audiences had actually seen the movie, he goes back to that exact same pump for a refill, and he is absolutely swarmed by screaming fans. He literally went from being completely unrecognized to a massive superstar in a single day.
मौत तू एक कविता है. Death, you are a poem. This incredibly beautiful verse by Gulzar, narrated so perfectly by Amitabh Bachchan in the film, really encapsulates the journey we've just taken today. Hrishikesh Mukherjee managed to take his absolute darkest fear, the fear of losing his best friend, and transformed it into cinema's most beautiful celebration of life. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. If we all truly accept that our time is limited, how much bigger could we make our lives today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and keep living fully.